and I'll crush you like a paper cup.
So this is it. This is not the questions. This is our players, where we love our players that we want to start, that we're higher on ECR, and our bust players that we're not expecting as many great things from this week, and maybe even potentially taking out of your fantasy football playoff matchups. We'll have to see. But first, let's start off with the crush. Adam, who are you going with for your crush of the week?
He's someone that I don't quite have him in my top 24 wide receivers, but I do think he is a must, or pretty strong argument in that flex spot, and that is Darnell Mooney, who currently sits at the ECR wide receiver 35. I think I would have him in the mid-20s, so right outside of the top 24, but not quite a 2. Mooney is, I think, someone who is going to benefit quite a bit from the ability to move the pocket, to go down the field a little bit more, to do some of the things that, again, the Atlanta offense has been limited from being able to do with Kirk Cousins. He is also someone who just put up a dud this past week, but was coming off of a 120-yard performance the week prior and has been relatively consistent for much of the season. It's been rocky over this rocky stretch with Kirk Cousins, but I think that says a little bit more about the quarterback than it does Mooney in this case, at least to me. He's still separated really well, still running his routes really well, still getting open. They just haven't been able to facilitate throwing the ball down the field. I think that is going to not necessarily be fixed, but alleviated to a degree with Penix at quarterback, and as such, Mooney is very tempting for me to have in lineups in my flex spot this week.
Yeah, we're going to see Adam, because
that's a bold
statement. It's a ballsy. It's a ballsy move. And look, it could go. We don't know what the Knicks is going to be this week, right? That's the whole debate that everyone's having this entire week. Because against the Giants, he could go off like Donkey Kong week 1, or it could be that he's a rookie quarterback and maybe he is focusing in on Drake London, or they don't have to do much to beat the Giants and they don't push him to do much. So it's a very volatile situation. Mooney's been great all year, though. So I like the ballsy play there. Chris. Travis, I'm sorry, I don't want to give it away. Chris, who's your crush this week? My bad.
Well, Adam, obviously, Dan likes to jump on my parts all the time and jump on me, but he's already stealing my guys. So I have Travis Etienne is my guy that I like this week. ECR 31, guy who's been last week was 22. The week before was 28. Had 19 touches last week, taking on a Raiders defense that is not good. As we talked about, we saw 173 yards for the combined at Atlanta backfield last week for a team that couldn't throw the ball at all. So you knew exactly coming. The running game was going to come. Jacksonville is a check down machine with Matt Jones at quarterback. But if it's not Strange catching it, then it's Travis Etienne. He has 4 straight games with 3 catches, at least 3 catches. So he's got a nice floor. Like I said, 19 touches last week. I like Travis Etienne versus the Raiders.
Okay. Well, so I will play devil's advocate a little bit with you here, Chris, because what we've seen of the Jaguars to this point is that which running back plays more is heavily dependent upon game script. And while we haven't seen it very often this season, there has been instances where when the Jaguars in a positive game script, they feature the crap out of Tank Bigsby. I think the Raiders could be such a matchup. Do you not see it that way?
I don't think Jacksonville's really going to blow out anybody, and I think for the most part, when it's been closer to games, you've seen Travis Etienne be the guy who's the majority of the backs. He kind of took back his role last week. The week before, it kind of was back in and out. The week before that, he had the most carries as well in the backfield. So through 2 out of the last 3 weeks, he has been the bell cow, quote unquote, of the backfield. So I don't think that's going to necessarily hurt him. And I think also you could throw the ball versus this Raiders defense out of the backfield.
Okay. 2 weeks ago, though, very negative game script. He played more. The week before that, the Jacksonville Jaguars in a positive game script. Tank Bigsby played more. And then this past week, they were in a negative game script again. Travis Etienne played more. So just kind of pointing that out, a little bit of a circumstantial thing. I think both of them are at least flex plays, though, this week. Chase, going to you. What do you got for your crush of the week?
Well, I'm not jumping out on the same limb that Adam and Chris are, but my crush of the week is going to be Kyler Murray. Now, he's ranked as the ECR QB7, and I'm going to have him as either my 5 or 6 when my rankings come out tomorrow. I would rank him higher this week, if not for the fact that there has been a clear top tier at quarterback this season, and Kyler's just not in it. But the same can be said for 27, 28, 30 other quarterbacks in the league right now. Now, that said, Kyler Murray's matching up against the Carolina Panthers defense that surrenders the 6th most points to fantasy quarterbacks. They are terrible against running backs as well, where they give up the most points, and against tight ends, where they give up the 2nd most points. So Carolina, I mean, defense is a
they make Cooper Rush like a superstar last week.
No. Carolina has concepts of plans when it comes to defense. Okay, they don't really have a defense. Kyler hasn't had a real solid quarterback 1 finish since week 10. Okay, it's been about a month here against the Jets. But guess who his top 2 receivers volume-wise have been since that week? Oh, that's right. James Conner, his running back, and Trey McBride, his tight end. The 2 positions that the Carolina Panthers also suck at defending. So not only should Kyler be able to find his favorite targets in this one, along with, I believe, still Marvin Harrison Jr., but there's a real chance he could find the end zone with his legs for the first time since he had a pair of touchdowns in that Jets game. Don't be scared off by his recent mid-level scoring. Don't get cute and start Penix or Mason Rudolph or even Russell Wilson. Just turn the toddler loose and let him run wild, okay? Although he will look less like a toddler this week because they're wearing all white against the Panthers as opposed to that all red Christmas footy pajama look that they have when they wear their home uniforms. No, it's Kyler Murray. Play him, love him, let it go.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are nervous about Kyler Murray this week for good reason. Now, to your point, though, he actually had a top 10 finish just 2 weeks ago in week 14 against the Seattle Seahawks. That's going to be the question, though. Does he run? Because Kyler has to run. Look, he's not a prolific enough passer, even against the Panthers, to seemingly get the job done. He has to be able to run as well. That's what we need to see. But against the Panthers, I do have him as my QB 10 myself this week. So inside the top 12, and I'm willing to start him in a matchup where, frankly, we have a lot of question marks, the quarterback heading into this playoff week, unfortunately, if you don't have one of the top tier guys. All right, so with that, it's time to get to my crush of the week. It's Tyrone Tracy. ECR's got him ranked at RB 28. I have him solidly inside my top 20 now. I actually just moved him up a couple more spots earlier this afternoon. I want him in my lineup. I'm locking in as a top 20 play. Since week 5, Tracy has garnered 70% of the snaps, 60% of the team's rushes, and 11% target share. Guys, that's borderline RB1 type level workload. Falcons on paper have only allowed the 9th most fantasy points to the running backs, but there's a caveat to that. Lately, they haven't been very good. They've allowed a opposing running back a 14th or better finish overall in the 4 of the last 5 games, including this past week for Amir Abdullah when Sincere McCormick went out. So if Abdullah can finish in the top 12, I'm pretty sure Tyrone Tracy with his workload, regardless of quarterback, could also have an opportunity here to finish back in the top 12. I know it's been a little bit annoying. Singletary's kind of vulture touchdowns 2 of the last 3 weeks, but Tracy's still getting plenty of volume in an Atlanta matchup where they should be throwing him the football in this game too. So I love Tyrone Tracy this upcoming week. Now we have to switch gears and go to the bust factor. Adam, who's your bust of the week?
You're not going to like this one because I know you like this player. I just really don't like the matchup for Zach Charbonnet and the Seattle Seahawks this week. The Minnesota Vikings rush defense has been awesome this season, under 4 yards per carry against them. They've given up like 6 explosives on the year, 20-plus yard runs. It's been tough to go against them. I think they're also still single-digit touchdowns allowed on the ground. Again, really good year for the Minnesota Viking rush defense. The Seattle Seahawks offensive line looked really rough this past week. With that, I'm a little concerned about them to kind of get pressure off of the run game. Charbonnet looked great in that game, but the fact of the matter is they got behind. They had to abandon the run, and it didn't matter that Charbonnet looked great. With Geno potentially hobbling around back there or one of the backup quarterbacks, either situation, I don't know that they're necessarily going to hang in long enough that Charbonnet is allowed to, be as impactful as I think he could be, even with how good this Minnesota defense has been up against the run. So things just in general, the circumstances around Charbonnet just really holding him back right now, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's all going to come down to whether Kenneth Walker plays or not, right? But I will say DeAndre Swift, 79 yards on 19 carries. If he can do it behind that Bears offensive line, I give Charbonnet at least a fighting chance. But I understand what you're saying. I'm not expecting top 12 level production, which is what people have come to expect when Kenneth Walker misses. So I'm with you on that one. Chris, who's your bust of the week?
Well, I take a lot of shit last week for my bust of the week. This week we'll see if I'll just take the same kind of shit. My my bust of the week is Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth is a tight end who's basically living off of touchdowns. I know everybody's going to quote where he finished the last 3 or 4 weeks. That's wonderful. That's great. But what he actually has done is had 21 catches in the last 6 weeks since the bye. He's had 3 games where he's had less than 23 yards. Actually, 2 of those 3 games he's actually in the teens. Last time we played the Ravens, Dan talked about how bad Russell Wilson was. Well, guess what? Pat Freiermuth was also bad. 2 catches for 14 yards. He got you a whopping 2.4 points. So Pat Freiermuth is ECR tight end 10 is not necessarily a guy that I think you have to have out of your lineup. But I think there's better options such as Strange, such as even Kincaid, Smart, and Njoku.
4, 3, 7. That's the last 3 finishes. He has finished as a top 10 tight end the last 3 weeks in a row. Now, I am 100% with you if George Pickens plays. Because if George Pickens plays, that's all Russell has. Okay. So I'm 100% with Pickens plays. If he doesn't play, Pat Freiermuth has been the lead target of this team. And the Ravens have been pretty bad against
the lead target, 21 catches in 6 games. So that's 3 catches a game he's averaging basically for you. And like I said, half of those games he had 23 yards, less than 23 yards. 2 of those were in the teens. So I don't think it's a no-brainer. I don't think he's an absolute a touchdown. Basically, he's touchdown dependent. Which he didn't catch against the Ravens and got you 2.4 points last time. So.
Touchdowns are a fickle mistress. You can't rely on touchdowns.
And George Pickens played last time. That's my point. Like if George Pickens plays, yes, you're not. Pat Freiermuth is going to fall down to a low end tight end, but I think you can still play him as a low end tight end one this upcoming week. Will be interesting to see.
Had a boat next to last week, by the way.
Chase, what do you got for your bust of the week?
I'm still trying to shake out this whole Brenton Strange anger. Like, oh man. There have lines been drawn. Brother fighting brother. It's like the Civil War around here over Brenton Strange. Welcome to the fantasy playoffs, everybody. But my bust this week is gonna maybe shock a few people unless you're in my home league. Derrick Henry, everybody, is my bust of the week. And now hear me out, okay? He's the ECR running back 8. I'm gonna have him outside my top 12 when my rankings come out tomorrow. It's King Henry. Yes, you're starting him, as did I last week. But listen, he's still RB2 on the year, RB3 in half PPR points per game. Okay, like he's still King Henry. But he's coming off a week that if it didn't kill your fantasy playoff hopes, it certainly made for a bad afternoon of skyrocketing blood pressure, right? As you begged the rest of your lineup to please score some kind of freaking points to make up for that shiznit. He's facing the Steelers, who give up the 10th fewest points to opposing running backs. 5 weeks ago, this same Steelers team held him to just 65 yards and a score and a fumble that he lost for only 10.5 points. That's his lowest out point of the season until last week's weird ridiculousness against the Giants. And we don't want to talk about that anymore because, like we said, kicked me out of the playoffs. In 5 games this year, against teams in the bottom 10 in points allowed to running backs, Derrick Henry has averaged just 12.38 half PPR points per games this season. Okay. That's low end RB2 numbers on the season. Now, indeed, he has averaged only an RB20 finish in those 5 games. That's a 30-year season so far, guys. It sucks. I know. This is when you need him the most. You can't not start him because you spent a 1st or 2nd round pick on him. But I'm telling you, just expect an average RB2 performance out of King Henry this week. Anything else is going to be gravy. I hate to say it, but Derrick Henry is my bust of the week.
But you're still playing it, correct?
Because you can't not. What are you going to do? Put Tyrone Tracy in his spot?
I hear you. It's not been fun. It's not been fun the past few weeks for Derrick Henry. 100%. But having said that, and it's not a great match against the Steelers either, but it's also been a lot of game script. That's why he's been kind of written out some of these Justice Hill things. Now, last week was weird. Last week was just odd.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that all they were against the team that he should have ate against. He should have eaten all day long against the Giants, and it just happened. Okay, well, let's throw for 18 touchdowns and that. But all I'm saying is, if you have to use Derrick Henry in your lineup this week, the rest of your lineup, you might have to shoot for upside as opposed to just playing it safe the rest of your lineup, because you can't expect more than RB2 usage, or not usage, but output out of Derrick Henry this week. So, I mean, it sucks because it's the time you need him most, and he's laying down.
Yeah, it's back to game script dependentness, but you're probably still not going to have a better option. No. Okay, so my bust of the week is another topic we've been talking about, really, frankly, all night long, and it's Jerry Jeudy. ECR still has him at wide receiver 20. Did they not get the memo of who's starting at quarterback this week? I don't know. I have him ranked at wide receiver 46. First of all, to piggyback off of what Chris has brought up earlier and Adam's brought up earlier, why did you go to DTR? Why go to DTR? It makes no sense on any level. First of all, you're losing games anyway with Jameis Winston, so it's not about tanking. You're going to tell me it's about the turnovers? All DTR has done is thrown interceptions every game he has played in ever. So you're not eliminating interceptions with DTR either. There's zero chance he is the future of this franchise. So this isn't a let's see what we have at a DTR situation either. It's terrible on all fronts. He came in for Winston last week. He was 4 for 9 for 18 yards and a pick. I mean, beyond pathetic. The last time he actually played significant time, he was 11 for 24, 82 yards and a pick earlier this year for Deshaun Watson. I don't know if DTR even gets to 100 yards passing. So this isn't a knock against Jerry Jeudy. This isn't a knock against anybody. If your name's not David Njoku, I don't trust you to get the ball in this passing game. And even Njoku, he might get 15 targets for 43 yards because it's not going past the 5. Yeah, if he even plays, because it's not going more than 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. Here's one for you. DTR, his average for his career is 1.68 air yards per attempt. Not yards per attempt, air yards per attempt. Not even 2 yards of air yards on average passing the football. This is beyond pathetic. It makes absolutely no sense. And Jerry Jeudy, who's been riding to this point of the season, you have to put him on your bench. And I would stay away from him with a 10-foot ball.
Hey, on top of that, like,
show. I hope you guys all enjoy.
Listen, hold on. On top of that, as a Browns fan, I've been watching what's happened with this team. Jameis Winston, you can laugh about the teddy bear on the snow game against the Steelers all you want or whatever. He's conducted himself well as the quarterback of this team. In fact, he has conducted himself more as a franchise quarterback of this team than Deshaun Watson has since the minute you dragged him in the door kicking and screaming after you did that trade. Why are they switching right now when it's going to do nothing at all to help them? Pisses me right off. Sorry.
Be a great giant quarterback.
With that is going to do it for the show, guys. I'll be back tomorrow with the injury inquiry episode. I think it's gonna be at 8:30 p.m. tomorrow. I'm not gonna have Brian Scott with me. I'll be doing it solo, but I will have his notes on the injuries. I'll be going through that and doing the fantasy impact of each of those injuries. And unfortunately, we have an extensive list that we're going to have to get to. So make sure you tune in the Fantasy Football Advice Network on YouTube. Subscribe if you have not already done so, and hit that bell notification to get notified when we have new content for you, and download Operation Domination Football on your favorite podcast app. Next week, we will have a show next week. Make sure you follow us on social media. We will post exactly when that's going to go out. It's not going to be Wednesday because that's Christmas Day. So most likely it will be a little bit later in the week, but we'll get back to you on that one. With that, everyone, good luck this week. I hope we're seeing you next week in the championship round. Take care until then. Hey there, I want to thank you for watching Operation Domination today. And if you're enjoying the show, there are some ways you can help support us. You can go to podchaser.com/Operation Domination and leave us a 5-star review. And you can do this on any podcast platform or on our YouTube page when you go to @FF Advice Network. This completely helps out the show be able to grow, and also leave us comments to let us know how we can curtail the show to you, because you are the most important member of the show. So again, go to podchaser.com/Operation Domination to leave a 5-star review and leave a comment wherever you listen or watch the show, and we'll help better serve you.